So thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm Samantha Savage. I'm a customer success manager here at Quartzy, part of our success team. And our team is really here to help you onboard, answer any questions you might have, any Quartzy related issues. And we also love getting your feedback. So if you experience any pain points or you have interest about Quartzy, feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out via support. So send us a message to support@quartzy.com and the appropriate customer success manager or account executive will reach out to you. I'll go ahead and get started. So today we're talking about how Quartzy can streamline lab operations. And as Monica said, you can add any questions you have in our Q&A feature, and I will pause periodically to check and see if anybody has questions. So our agenda, we're going to start with a Quartzy introduction. I will show you how quotes appear when Quartzy offers you a quote in the application. We'll talk about the benefits of ordering from Quartzy as a distributor. I'll jump into a demo so you can see how Quartzy can help manage your orders and your inventory. I'll talk a little bit about what's new at Quartzy and how we've improved the product for you, and how to get started, any information about trial and subscriptions, and of course, a Q&A at the end. So as an introduction, I wanted to mention that Quartzy is an online software that is designed for collaborative lab management. This is actually one of our labs at UC Berkeley, and Quartzy really brings all of these team members together in one software so they can transparently talk about orders and things that they need in the lab. So here we have a lab manager, scientists, and finance all working with one system. Quartzy's mission is to accelerate science, and we do this by making sure labs never run out of the supplies they need to do for their experiments. Quartzy started by our co-founders Adam Riegelman and Giant Kulkarni, who were both scientists that were working at Columbia, and they saw the inefficiencies of lab management with writing on whiteboards and using Excel, and they aspired to create this universal tool to address the problems they faced every day in the lab. And today, Quartzy serves over 300,000 scientists worldwide in industry, academia, pharma, and many, many more walks of research life. This is an example of some of our customers across academia and industry. And typically labs come to us looking for a solution for the lab supply lifecycle. So this little picture shows you kind of the full lab supply lifecycle. A researcher or a lab manager needs a place where they can track all the requests that are needed in the lab. There might be a need for an approval workflow. So maybe you have a PI or a lab manager who needs to actually approve those orders and ensure that those grants are open and whomever added the request can purchase on that grant. Then the lab manager or lab admin of the account can mark items ordered. And you can track both orders that are being purchased from Quartzy as a distributor or from other vendors. So you can really track everything in one place. If you do choose to order something from Quartzy as a distributor, we will put all the tracking information and order confirmation numbers in that specific request for you. So it's really an advantage to place orders with Quartzy. We are a leading life science supplier. We have over 10 million products, and we have over 1,800 partners. When items come into the lab, you're able to mark them received, and it automatically populates an item in your inventory. So it creates this system automatically for you. In addition to having that item added to your inventory, it will be retained in your order history for easily re-requesting items. Once the item is added to your inventory, you have the ability to mark it used and track your usage. And when items are running low, you can then re-request the item from the inventory as well to create a new request. So it's really designing this full lab supply lifecycle. You see here also, if you order an item from Quartzy, we will send you the invoices, and then the accounting team can work with those invoices within Quartzy. I'm going to pause here and see if there are any questions. Monica, do we have a question?
Just somebody was wondering if we will be able to send out these slides after the presentation, and yes, we will. But it doesn't look like anything else has come in yet.
All right, certainly. Okay, so how do quotes appear in Quartzy? This is an example. Chloe added a request with this specific catalog number from Courtney. And you see she entered a price here. It could be list price from the website, or you can enter any of your contracted pricing, anything that you have the information for. And then you see there's a quote here from Quartzy. So this is an example of an equivalent quote. I'll kind of talk about what that means in a minute, but I wanted to show you kind of what it looks like. So you see that Quartzy is offering an equivalent match quote here for a different catalog number from a different vendor. And you can transparently see the quote amount here, when you can expect to receive the item. And then over here, you see the accept quote option and then compare specs and ask a scientist. So if an item shows the compare specs option, you'll click on that button and see a side-by-side comparison of the item that's being requested and the item that Quartzy can source for you. In addition, the Ask a Scientist button will open a support modal in the application and allow you to send our support team a question. Our team typically gets back to you within 3 business hours. If you choose to accept the quote, you'll click the little button and you'll see that the request will flip over to Quartzy being the vendor now listed here. The catalog number has now changed and the vendor changes to Celltrate. This is the manufacturer we're working with, but you would never need to reach out directly to Celltrate. Quartzy would be your vendor in this case. So what's an exact match? An exact match is when the item we are offering is exactly the same as the item that you originally requested. So you see this example here. Across different distributors, each distributor has a different catalog number for the same manufacturer part number. If Quartzy offers you a quote, it will be based on this manufacturer part number. So if you enter an item for this item with the catalog number 07764-700 from Fisher, our system will recognize the appropriate part number for that item and might offer you a quote in the application. It will say that it's the same item that we're quoting you for. By contrast, an equivalent match is a scientifically vetted alternative product with identical or superior specifications. And you should be able to substitute a Quartzy equivalent match into your workflow with little to no change to your protocol's speed, ease, and quality of results. So how can equivalent matches benefit your lab? First, we have cost. So you will only receive an equivalent match quote if we can beat the price per unit on your request, and the savings are often significant. It might be speed. So if you enter the exact item and we know that that item happens to be on back order, Quartzy will attempt to offer an equivalent item with a better availability for you. And lastly, convenience. Of course, it's hard to test all of these products and find great alternatives, especially if they can affect your experiments. So you can trust our team to discover new brands and products without any extra effort or hassle on your part. So these items are actually vetted by our team of scientists. These are our life science product specialists, and they meticulously go through these equivalent matches. They have decades of cumulative experience. They only recommend their trusted brands, and there's a 2-step process for quality control. I'm going to pause here and see if anybody has questions. That was a lot of information.
Nothing specific to where you are right now, but I may ask you a question later when we get to the demo part.
Perfect, sounds good. So how does Quartzy benefit you? We do offer pre-negotiated pricing. I mentioned that we have over 1,800 leading life science suppliers that we have partnerships with, and we will extend any pre-negotiated pricing options with you within the application itself. We handle all of that vendor communication for you, so you don't have to reach out to tons of different vendors. You can just reach out to Quartzy and we'll really go to bat for you and get you the best options we can. If there are items on back order or any information we get from the vendors, we get that information back to you. We provide quotes for those equivalent matches that are vetted by a team of scientists. We do have 2 Quartzy fulfillment centers. We have one on the West Coast and one on the East Coast to get products to you faster. We'll ship from the nearest Quartzy fulfillment center to your location. And this is definitely a way we can really source products quicker for you. We're not reliant on the drop ship aspect completely. So we are able to get these products from our Quartzy fulfillment centers to you quicker if we have them in stock. And then the Quartzy shop is a really great resource for you as well. You can view product details, you can see specs and SDSs for some products. So Quartzy shop is not only a shopping location for you to view what Quartzy can source for you, but it's also a really great resource to learn about products and compare side-by-side products and their specs and SDSs. And what sets us apart is our delightful customer support team. We do have a satisfaction score above 97%. And I can say, I used to be a Quartzy customer myself, and I can say from my perspective, this team is incredible. They really do go to bat for you. When I actually started at Quartzy, they remembered me as a customer. They remembered my name. They remembered some of the issues I had dealt with. And it really made me feel like I was working with a small business. They really are so personable and they go to bat for you. And from one of our customers, she says that Quartzy is one of the most valuable laboratory management tools we've ever encountered. Aside from consolidating our ordering workflow, Quartzy's catalog provides tremendous value. It is far more convenient than ordering from a supplier. All right, so I'm going to jump into demo. Any questions before I get started?
No, go ahead and get started.
Excellent. So let's talk about how Quartzy can help you to manage all your orders and your inventory in one system. So I'll open my demo lab here. And first, I'll just start by kind of orienting you to how Quartzy is laid out and where you can find various settings. So over here on the furthest right corner, if you click on this little icon, this is your profile settings. So these are all your user-specific profile settings to whomever is logged in. I'll click on the profile settings here, and this is where you can change your password, your email, you can enter your position here. And then I'll navigate over to email settings. This is usually where we get the most questions. So this is where you can change the cadence of any of the email notifications that you're getting from Quartzy. So you see here, the first one is status is updated on my request. So as items move through the ordering pipeline, you get an email notification about that change on your request. So here you see you can change the email cadence for that. And then for lab admins, you can change any of these settings. So when new requests are added, you do get an email notification, or when another admin approves a request. So I'll navigate back to our home screen. The next icon is our support. So here you can go to our support site, and we have step-by-step instructions for various processes in Quartzy, really any process. So if you have a question in the moment and you want a quick answer, you can easily come through our support system here and search for a help doc. So let's say you're interested in learning more about standing POs. We have these step-by-step instructions with screenshots to help you navigate the system. If you're looking for any recordings of webinars, we have lots of recordings, video recordings of how to use Quartzy and to help you orient to Quartzy and using it. The next icon here is your cart. So the shopping cart will reflect all of your Quartzy orders. So this conveniently provides you an opportunity to place your orders that you're purchasing with Quartzy. And you can see across all the various labs that I'm a member of, I can kind of toggle between them and place those orders. So I'll go to this Quartzy demo lab. You see I have all sorts of orders in here. If I ever need to remove an item or save an item for later, I can do so in the cart. I can also get this nice breakdown and order summary of everything that I'm purchasing with my estimated tax and my totals that I should be expecting on my invoice. If you have any questions about these details, you can click the See Details and see a further breakdown on any handling and shipping charges. Quartzy does offer free ground shipping on orders greater than $199. Here you can check out really easily in the app. You just click checkout. You'll see the options to enter your shipping address, click continue, and here is where you can choose if you're purchasing with credit card or you're purchasing with PO. You can check out right in the Quartzy app. Click continue, and you'll get the order confirmation and details will be updated in your request. I'll go through a little bit more about how you can choose these payment options. Just wanted to show you how easy it is to check out. Then you'll see our three main modules up here on the middle kind of column area. So the first one is your requests. The request module is like your digital shopping list. So this is everything that's needed in the lab. You can see by whomever requested the item, the scientists in the lab, and you can see transparently all the items that they're requesting. Our next module is the inventory. So when items are marked received in the request module, they move into your inventory where you can work with that. You can easily update the inventory by clicking on these icons, and it will pull up these specific items. You can easily update them line item by line item, or we do have update options here. So you can export the inventory, update it in Excel, and re-import it.
Hey, Samantha. So one of the, before you move on too much, one of the questions we got earlier was about expiration dates. Are we able to put expiration dates in there, and can it set a notification to the owner when that expiration date is coming up?
Yes, great question. So here, when I'm clicking on a specific item, let's use one that has an expiration date. Let's say the DMEM media has an expiration date. So when you click into the details here, you'll click on the item name and you'll scroll down to this next section where you have specs. Within the spec section, you can add in expiration dates here. So you click on the little calendar, and then you can pop up the expiration date. You can also select a reminder once it gets close to that expiration date, and you can choose that cadence as well. This will send you an email notification. Any other questions about expiration date?
Nope, I think that's it.
Great. I also want to point out quickly that you can always change this view. So if there are different columns or fields that you want to display for your inventory, I want to remind that this is a user-specific setting. So if I click this gear icon here, it can change my view, but it won't necessarily change it for the rest of the lab. Each user has to choose the columns that they want to display for their account. So let's say I don't need to know the vendor for this item. I can easily uncheck that item, and then I can pull in, for example, lot number. I can then move these columns around as I need to. So if I want lot number right next to my item name, I can move those columns around. You're also able to categorize your inventory by type. So over here on the left-hand side, you'll see these different filters. So I have quite a few various types for this demo lab. So you can see based on type. Let's look at my chemicals, for example. I have different custom fields for those, and you see my columns change. So depending on how you want to categorize your inventory, you can pull in different columns based on that. If you ever want to pull a report from Quartzy, you can do so with this export inventory. You can also do the same thing from the request module. We'll just pop back here. You can always export requests as well. So if you want to make any reports based on your projects or the spend on those projects, you can click this filter and it will allow you to export specific to those projects. So when I click here, you'll see I can filter by my grant spend. So I'm going to pop into the lab settings now so you can kind of see how you can build out these various modules. To view my lab navigation, I'll click on this little caret icon here. And the first thing I want to point out is kind of how these are structured. So you'll see here at the top level, this is your organization. And then the subsequent labs will be below that within this tree. So you see, for example, this Quartzy University Labs, I am a member or an admin of several labs, and each one has its own lab settings. You can have different members, different inventory, different requests and order history within each lab. For this organization, I'm an organization admin, so I'll click on this gear icon so you can see what you can manage there. The first section is going to be all of your organization members. You'll see a breakdown of the seats that you have occupied and what you have available. The next section is billing. This is specific to your SaaS subscription, so you can pay and see invoices within here. You can add in your payment information, and you can request additional seats by clicking the Manage Plan section. The next section is integrations. So we do have a QuickBooks and NetSuite integration. The QuickBooks integration is available at the standard plan. If you're interested in a NetSuite integration, that is at our enterprise level. And of course, we'll get you in contact with an account executive if you're interested in these plans. The final section in your organization settings is custom fields. This is a new feature that we are excited to talk about. So if you have any specific fields in addition to the request fields that we already have, you can add additional custom fields. So let's say, for example, you have different departments. You can change that to be maybe a dropdown, a text field. I'm going to choose a dropdown so you can see this. So let's say I have a chemistry department and I have a biology department. And then I can choose how that's displayed. So if I want it to be a required field on my request form, maybe every time someone enters a request, you need to have that field populated, then you can click required. You can also click to show it in the request table, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I'll click displayed so you can see where that shows up. I'll create the field, and you see now I have all of my custom fields noted here. So now to drill down into the lab specific settings, I'll click on the lab that I want to look at. It's this Quartzy demo lab here. Here is where you can invite all of the members that are specific to that lab. You do need to be added to a lab as an admin to be able to mark items ordered within that lab. So keep that in mind as you're starting to build out that account. The next section is locations. So this is where you can build out various locations you want to use in your inventory. You can use Quartzy to track freezer boxes, as well as shelves and racks.
We did just get a question about freezer boxes in particular. Could you maybe show the grid, talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah, so this is an example of a freezer box. Let me just create one so you can see what it looks like. So here's where you make that choice if you want to track it as a shelf or a rack or a freezer box. You'll click on freezer box here. And let's say I want to track shelf 1, box 1 within this. And then here's where I can choose my orientation and how many positions I have. And I'll click save. And when you click on this little grid, you can see a layout of the box. And if you click within these, let's say, for example, I have a K562 cell line, I can enter that here, and I can enter any other details I want to add. So maybe I have 5 to the 6 cells within this. I can add that as my unit size. And then down here, again, I can specify my type, so I can even categorize it here. So I'm going to specify this as a cell line, and I'm going to say, no, I haven't used it. And then here is where I can specify my locations. Let's say it's in these 5 positions. And then I can click to add the item. Here is how it's displayed in my inventory. And then I'll go back to that lab setting so you can see what it looks like now within the grid. So when I go to my locations, you can now see within that I have my K562 cells tracked here. If you want to create like a freezer map or you want to post it on the front of the freezer, you can always print it. And if I really like the preview. So here, I don't know if you can see it. It does have a little breakdown here of all of the positions and what's in each, as well as that grid. Any other questions about freezer boxes or locations?
Nope, that was perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So here are the types. This is how you can categorize your inventory. So we do have quite a few types available here. And really within each type, we have some standard fields. Let me point those out first. So these are our standard fields that are available across all of the different types. And then within each type specifically, you have custom fields. So you'll see across all of these each have custom fields in addition to the standard fields. And these are customizable. So if you want to, maybe you want to edit it and change the name or the format, you can just click edit. You can also delete any of these fields. So if you don't want to track a specific field, you can delete it. And of course, you can add your own custom fields, however you'd like to track those. You can make custom fields required as well. I'll navigate over to vendors. This is where you can add in vendors that you're working with. They'll be available in the dropdown when adding requests. Here's where you can schedule to receive automatic spend reports. It'll automatically send you an email with a spend report or an inventory backup. Here's where you'll enter address. And this is our approval section. So this is where you can add in that approval step. And I do want to make sure we have enough time to add requests. So I'm going to kind of breeze through this. So we do have the option to add approvals. You can choose how to automatically approve requests based on a dollar threshold. Here's where you choose your admins who get notifications when requests need approval. And then down here, this is definitely a section I want to point out. This is where you can add in all of your different project codes, grant IDs, however you track those. We call them budgets. So you can add in your different budgets and assign owners to them as well. And then down here is a new feature. We have the ability to customize approvals. So if you have different people who approve requests at different dollar thresholds, you can add them in here. In addition, if you have like a safety officer who needs to approve any of the chemicals you're purchasing, you can create that as a custom approval as well. The next section is for webhooks. So if we have we actually have a Slack integration and a Microsoft Teams integration, as well as Google Sheets. So definitely reach out to us if you're interested in any of those. You can just reach out to support@quartzy.com and we'll help you get in contact with the right person. And then lastly, we have our lab settings. So this is where you're going to choose how members are invited to your lab, who can edit your inventory, who's notified when a new item is requested. And here is that preferred payment method. So when I showed you the cart earlier, it was set into purchase order. You can always purchase, an immediate transaction with credit card. I showed you that kind of toggle between the two. And then if you're using an e-procurement system or any kind of external system, then you can use this other e-procurement system. Essentially what that means is Quartzy is going to be your tracking system. Then you can move into that system to enter your request, generate a PO, and then the PO gets sent to Quartzy. With the purchase order method, you've already generated a purchase order and you're ready to use that purchase order to make that purchase. I'll go ahead and click cancel so we can go back to our main page. So I'll navigate back to our request module, and I'll show you what the process is to add a request. So my options here are to freely search, or I can search by vendor and catalog number. So let's say, for example, I want a specific item from Kyogen, and I have a catalog number here. The first option that's going to show up is anything in my request history. You are able to upload a request history. The next section is anything Quartzy can source for you. And you see that Quartzy is providing equivalent matches for this product. We don't have this specific Kyogen option, so we'll provide some equivalent options for you here. The next section is anything found in your inventory, and we do have the locations displayed here as well, so you can go to that location and see if there's enough for you to use, or if you'd like to go ahead and mark this as a request. And then lastly, anything that is found from another vendor. You do have the ability to track requests with our request form as well. So if you're purchasing something like oligos that don't have a specific catalog number, you can use the request form to still add those to Quartzy. This next section is those custom request fields. So you see I have department here. I'm going to go ahead and choose that so you can see what it looks like when I add it. Here's where I can specifically choose my type. I can add in a project code. Requisition and POs are available here to track. I have a notes field, and then in addition, I can upload a quote. I'll go ahead and add this request. And now you see all of my new requests are collected in the new tab here. If Quartzy can offer you either an equivalent match or an exact match, this is an example of that, then we'll offer you the quote here. If you choose to accept the quote, that's when it will flip over to Quartzy being the vendor. If you ever need to change the vendor, you can click on the item here, click select original request, and switch it back. You can switch them back and forth as an admin. I want to point out this example too. So you see these various requests there from Fisher Scientific, and they don't have that Quartzy logo here. So I'm choosing to purchase this directly from Fisher. You see here that Quartzy is offering a quote, and the price is higher. So it appears a little differently than it does with this green quote here. You see relative to price that it does change. So say that I had 170 here. It'll still say that it's the exact same item, but the price will change, and then I can choose to accept the quote. Any questions about that?
Nope.
Okay, great. So you can easily process orders, and you can do it in a bulk way. So as an admin, you can mark these items approved. You'll see that they move and populate into a separate tab. You can then batch update them and mark them ordered as you'd like to. You can also group them into a PO and easily track it that way. You'll see here's where that custom request field appears in my request table. So if you have a custom field that you want to appear in this table, this is where you would add it. And let's say I'm ordering these items from Fisher, so I want to group those into PO. When I click that, I have the option to add my PO here. So let's say I have this PO. If you are using a QuickBooks integration, it will generate a PO here for you, and then you can sync it to QuickBooks. I'm going to go ahead and click Save Changes and group these requests on a PO. And I'll go back to my request module. Now you see that it's populated with my PO number. So I can conveniently, I'll go ahead and mark these ordered. And then you can see after I've marked them ordered, I have that PO number as a really easy way to search the system. So once I have my packing slip and I'm ready to mark items ordered, I can search the system and just pull up those items on that purchase order. I can then mark them received and specify my location. So let's say I'm putting these pipettes in our stock room. I can specify that here and click next. And same with these, I can specify my stockroom and click save. And now that's creating a field in my inventory, an item in my inventory that I can now track. Okay, I'm going to pause here. I know I've given you tons of information. So any questions about that process?
No, it looks like we're all good.
Okay, great. So I'll quickly navigate back to the shop. So this is a great way that you can freely search anything that Quartzy can source for you. So if you're looking for something like 50 mil conicals, you can search the Quartzy shop, and here's how you can view our product pages to get additional details. You can see a really nice shipping breakdown based on your zip code, and you can add the item either to the cart as an admin, or you can add it as a request. Here we have specs and different information about the product, and you can click on this icon to go to the vendor website. Okay, so I'm going to navigate back to my presentation here and just point out a few additional things. So here, what is new on Quartzy? We have made improvements to our shop to now provide more accurate estimated availability. With the supply chain issues that have been happening, it's really great to have a system where you can kind of trust the ranking and how products are available and when they're available. We have those customized options for request fields and approval workflows. And we have integrations with financial platforms and communication tools. We also have way more to come, so definitely check out our product roadmap. And we're excited to announce that we have a Quartzy mobile app in development. Here is an example of those additional integrations that we're looking at and further building out. So here are the communication ones I mentioned. We do have QuickBooks and NetSuite integrations available. We have lots of partnerships with vendors. We're looking into electronic lab notebooks and integrating with P2P systems. And lastly, of course, reporting and analytics. If you have any questions about these integrations, please reach out to us via that support@quartzy.com. All right, so I'm going to hand it back to Monica.
All right, thanks, Samantha. So I'll quickly go over some of our subscription options, and I want to mention that we do have Chase Diamond, who is on the webinar as well as one of our fantastic account executives. So he may be able to answer any additional questions you have about our subscriptions. But quickly to go over this, with our subscription options, you can choose the plan that's right for you. Academia, nonprofit, and government labs can utilize Quartzy's lab management features at no cost right now. This includes inventory, requests, as well as shop functionality for labs in the US. If your lab does not fall under one of those categories, then the standard plan may be for you. With the standard plan, you'll access all of the features just mentioned, as well as have the ability to manage features at the organization level. This includes the seat management, as well as custom request fields that Samantha went over, and an integration with our QuickBooks Online. You'll also receive personalized training and onboarding from our team. Last is the enterprise plan. This includes everything already mentioned, plus our custom integration with NetSuite, data import services, and some customized reporting options. The full list of features and pricing will be sent to you after this webinar. And of course, send us any questions. We're happy to answer them one-on-one for your specific lab or company. So if you can hop up, perfect. So what's next? We'll be sending out an email with the webinar recording, as well as some additional resources. If you're ready to get started, you can sign up for a free trial right now at quartzy.com. Just click try free once you get there. Or if you have more questions, you can send those over to sales@quartzy.com, and you'll be able to set up time with a member of our team, possibly Chase, so you can learn more and really get all those questions answered.
All right. So now
it looks like
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Did just have one question I see here. Answer that. When will the integration with Benchling be complete? I can answer this, Samantha. I'm not sure if you know.
Go ahead.
So right now, this is still one of the integration options that's in development. We're really excited about this feature to be ready. At this time, I believe this is planned for sometime this year. Sorry, I can't be more specific at the moment, but we're still working out the specifics around this. But we will absolutely be notifying all of the customers when this option becomes available. So keep an eye on that product roadmap. That will be one of the links that I'll send out in the email, and that will have more information about when it's going to be complete. But yeah, we're really excited about this one. All right, any other, I don't see any open questions right now. We'll give everybody just a minute. We have just a couple minutes here left till we get to the end of our time. So any last questions before we wrap up? Or Chase, I don't know if you wanted to add anything at this time.
Yeah, no, just from my end, right? You showed the pricing information there. If anybody does have any other questions about pricing or for larger groups, certainly they can reach out to the sales@quartzy.com email as well, and I can put a quote together for them.
All right, perfect. Well, I think that looks like it. No other questions at this time. Thank you everybody so much for joining. Hopefully you learned a lot about how Quartzy can help streamline your lab operations, and we look forward to hearing from you if you have any questions. So thanks, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye.